Well, have you probably seen this gentleman on social media being stalked by his daughter doing improvs impressions, improv impressions on celebrities, usually being caught in uncompromising positions, but he's a true talent. You may know him as the Hey Dad guy. He's a viral sensation right now. Last count I heard, you have over about a 500,000 followers on Instagram and other social media platforms.
We hit 600,000 last
Awesome.
week.
So, what you may not know is he's also an established veteran actor, motivational speaker, among other things, and he's also appeared in blockbuster movies. And it's a great honor to have as our special guest on this morning's show, Jim Meskimen.
Thank you,
Good morning,
Brian.
Jim.
Good morning to you too.
Hey. So, what sparked? I'm just kind of curious. I mean, what is it in your gene pool, your DNA that said, "Hey, I'm going to do impressions"? I know you're an actor and you do
Right.
impressions, but were you an actor doing impressions or impressionist doing acting?
Wow, that's a deep question, Brian. That's a deep question. That's too deep for this morning. I grew up in an acting family. My mom is Marion Ross, who was on Happy Days and played Mrs. C. And around our house, we like to make each other laugh, and we would do voices and accents. And my mom was when she was home, she was a terrific mom to have, and enjoyed having fun with us kids and imitating people. And so I just grew up kind of with I guess the freedom to try to copy people, and I knew that there would be a little bit of an audience. A lot of comedians and entertainers who have grown up in a family that is tolerant of their interests find that later on in life they're like, wow, I just always did this. And I just always kind of did it. I didn't have a dream of one day becoming, like Rich Little in a room in Vegas with a tuxedo and anything like that. That was not my interest at all, particularly. Like I say, grew up in an acting family. So for me, I saw films and TV as being eventually in my future.
You mentioned Rich Little, and I'm sure he was an influence, right?
Well, I admire him a lot. I've talked to Rich. I've interviewed him myself, and
Mm.
back in the day, I mean, I really think he is the gold standard because if you go back and look at particularly those videos on YouTube and this from the '60s and earlier, he had access to people that became were iconic voices at the time, and during an age when iconic voices existed even like today I think a lot of us notice that well it's more about the way you look. It's not so much about the way you sound because we're not now watching a lot of actors that we've become familiar with first in radio. Now maybe that'll change with podcasts, but right now we have a very homogenized country, I think, although it doesn't seem that way politically, but vocally there's a little bit of variation. Like, okay, you're from Fort Worth, so you've got a slightly different accent, than people in L.A. The way we talk out here. But anyway, that all that to be said that Rich Little was and still continues to be someone I marvel at for his fidelity to certain voices. And there's a lot of guys I admire that do it. There's tons and tons of impressionists that are online that do amazing stuff, and I enjoy all of them.
I'm thinking like Frank Gorshin back in the
Sure.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but who always thought of himself as an actor first and an impressionist second, and uh, you know, I, I like doing whatever people are interested in having me do. If they like to hear me do Robin Williams, and I'm very excited about that.
I want to hear it. Yes.
Yes, yes, and I've been doing it for the Disney people for quite a while. And the Blue Genie, and oh, 10,000 years can give you such a pain in the neck. Uh, Done a lot of that. Done a lot of George W. Bush, who is from your part of the world, the Texas side.
How do you immerse yourself in the region? I mean, how do you study that?
In the region?
Yeah. Like for instance,
Well,
you're in the region doing work here on Landman, I understand.
I was. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I've been traveling back and forth from LA, where I live, and going to Fort Worth to work on Landman. Yeah. Well, the way I immerse, I just jump on a plane and they do all the immersion for me. Eventually, we land in DFW, and I'm immersed. But my father was from Texas, so and I used to do TV commercials for uh, Skaggs Alpha Beta Markets back in the late 80s and early 90s. And I lived in New York in the time, got started in New York City, and I would fly out to Dallas, and we'd go to Richardson and Grapevine and College Station and all these places in downtown Dallas, and I'd interview people in the stores for days and days. And I met a lot of nice Texas people. And so that was my deep immersion into the Texas culture, and it was deep.
Awesome. Now let's see back to your standard impressions. So Patrick Stewart, you,
Yes.
you have you have him nailed. I mean,
Well,
it's amazing.
thank you. We've the older I get and the handsomer he gets, I think we really reach a nice juncture.
So my question is, do you own a Starfleet uniform?
I rented one recently to go to a Comic-Con because I thought, maybe I'll just go down to the local costume thing and see if they've got a Starfleet commander. And they did. They had to get up with all the little, and they showed me here's what you put the insignia, and these little buttons have to be right. And I'm like, oh, good, because I didn't actually watch the show. And I walked all over San Diego Comic-Con with that thing on, with my lovely shiny head, and and I got more smiles from people and more people saying, "That's the best cosplay." And I'm like, oh man, I went to the least amount of trouble and created the largest amount of effect. But that's because people love Sapat, and I do too. And I remember during the pandemic, I would often go on Instagram and listen to Sapat, who took it upon himself to read a sonnet every day and recite it and really perform it. And I think that was a great, great thing for him to do, and we all enjoyed it enormously.
One thing I've noticed is your facial expressions. You study
Great
that quite a bit
understanding.
too. So now, I saw the viral video on your website,
Uh-huh.
uh, which had a little aid of AI there for you, I'm sure. Unless that
Oh,
was,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was really you doing a facial expression. If you did that on the natural fly, there, you're awesome. You're more awesome than I thought. So,
Well,
but
that's a fairly old video. It's called A Deeper Look at Being an Impressionist, or A Deeper Look at Being a Deeper Look at an Impressionist. And it's up on my site on jimmeskimen.com. That was done with the aid of, this is like, that's already now maybe 8 or 9 years old. And there was a fellow in England that contacted me and he said, hey, we can do this interesting face swapping kind of technology is available, and we can do that to your videos. And he sent me a sample of something that he pulled off of my site, off of YouTube, and I was really gobsmacked by it. I was just flabbergasted. It was so I hadn't seen anything like it. And so I wrote this poem and recorded it and sent him the raw file, and then he did the magic to it to swap my face out. Now it's something anybody can do on their phone. It's very, very easy. But I know for him at the time, it was quite a lot of work
well,
and
quite a
hours and
pioneer at
hours of
that
work.
juncture, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I luckily this guy contacted me. I had very little to do with it other than I said yes and
Right.
created something for him to work with.
I didn't catch on until I saw the George Clooney eyes.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, that's oh. And then
Clooney
Morgan
eyes.
Freeman, of course, that was a giveaway too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a nice thing about that video. It starts out very slowly, and you just the nose widens a little bit, and the chin, and this. John Malkovich is in there right at the beginning, and Tommy Lee Jones. It starts to change quite a lot, and Dr. Phil suddenly a mustache drops down out of my face, and yeah, it's cool.
wow, awesome. So now the go back to the viral videos that are going out. It's actually taking on a life of its own for you.
Yeah.
What kind of impact has that had?
Oh, it's nice. Thanks for asking, Brian. My daughter and I, we became aware that we needed to just put a lot of stuff on the web very regularly, use social media to promote what I do. Because I had, my live show that I was doing, and I'm always looking for acting work and working commercials. And so she came up with this concept of like, she just sort of ambushes me and says, "Hey, Dad," which you mentioned, "Hey, Dad, do this, what's this?" And she knows all the various celebrities that I can do impressions of.
Mhm.
But it is impromptu, and I'm not prepared ahead of time. And
Yeah, I saw the one without your shirt. That was.
you know, I don't.
I showed my wife. I
Honestly.
said, "Look," he said, "I'm naked."
Oh yeah, she came. I was sunning myself, and she pounced on me. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, not now." Yeah, I've asked her, please, not while I'm eating, because I
All
can't
right.
really do the impression while I'm eating. But the good things that have come out of it, I mean, it's always exciting to have a viral video. We're not particularly monetized, so it's not a game changer that way. I don't make any money from it, but I make friends in the weirdest places. I'll go to Trader Joe's and someone will say, "Oh, I love your videos, you know. You're that guy, you're that impressions guy." And they're already kind of smiling and they're already sort of like, "Hey, you know, I'm your friend, you're my friend, whatever." And to the degree, the point where I worked on a movie last year in Malta and I flew out in November late at night. Malta's far away. It's in the Mediterranean. It's underneath Sicily. And I was going to go out there for a few weeks to work on a film. And I, took a flight, red eye flight, and wound up in Malta at about midnight their time. And I got off to go to the baggage claim, and an older gentleman came up to me and said, just another passenger was getting his bag. He said, "Do I know you from TikTok? I think I follow you." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm an impressionist." He said, "Are you an impressionist?" I said, "Yes, I am. My wife and I love your stuff." This is a Maltese gentleman who retired real estate guy. And as a result, he said, "Oh, I'd love to take you around and show you Malta. And I'm having a pacemaker put in this week, but maybe next week." I said, "Yeah, we can wait.
Yeah.
Let's take your time." So, and we did. A couple weeks later, he made good on his offer, and he took me on there's a beautiful harbor there in Malta, and we went around on a gondola, and it was one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. And that was just from that somebody could be favorably disposed and want to be my friend from something that they've seen on YouTube or on TikTok or Instagram, and come up to me and approach me that way. I think it's always amazing when someone recognizes me completely out of context. Like in Malta, yeah, that's really crazy. The other day in Fort Worth, I got recognized a few times in Fort Worth in your town. I was coming downstairs at the hotel where I was staying, and a guy had seen me from the first floor. And by the time I got to the bottom, he said, "I know you from your Jim Impressions, right?" I said, "Yeah. How did you?" He would have seen me from such a weird angle, and totally out of context. But he said, "I was a salesman. I'm a salesman, and I also got trained in security." So I went, "Oh, okay. So your eyes are very trained." He's like looking at, okay, male, Caucasian, 5'10", 150 pounds. He's probably making all these analysis points as a security guy.
Robin Williams is my favorite. I mean,
Oh,
the only reason why I say that is because you've got that mouth thing going on. It just,
I have a mouth. Yes, I have a
yeah,
mouth
you've got
thing.
a mouth thing going on there.
I got a mouth. Oh, yeah, kid's got a mouth on him. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's also a thin-lipped person, which I'm a thin-lipped person. We all belong to a big thin-lip club. It's stiff, it's upper lip, but it's thin. I don't have lugubrious lips. I wish I did. I tell you, sometimes. Sometimes I wish I had some good kissable lips.
It's amazing to do that, though. I mean, it's great to bring him back to life. And
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. A lot of people respond very favorably. I did a
yeah.
video on his passing, a poem about how it seemed to be kind of sacrilegious to do Robin Williams' voice, and I got many, many beautiful responses from people. I think we all just kind of shared in that grief. Now it's over. It's about 10 years since he passed. I don't know when the anniversary is. It might be in August, and 10 years already is unbelievable. And people still feel very, very connected, very sentimental, very appreciative of what he left us. And I think it's a marvelous thing. I have this weird connection to him because of my mom, because Happy Days, he appeared on Happy Days. Mork from Mork
So
was,
you've met him?
I have met him,
Uh-huh.
not much, briefly in an airport one time. I didn't meet him through Happy Days at all. He was not a big star, and I was not at that particular taping, although he used to go a lot, but I didn't, for some reason, I didn't go to that one.
So was that before you were able to do impressions of him?
Yeah, I mean, I was unaware of him. We all were.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So tell me
so,
about the people that you do impressions of that have met, and what are their reactions?
Well, I've been a bit squeamish about doing the impression for the person because I'm hyper aware that we don't sound like if you hear most people now you're not a civilian anymore in the world of audio recording. You're like me, you've heard yourself a lot, but most people when they hear their recorded voice, there's a tremendous disconnect because space and air are entered into the mix in an unflattering way, let's say. So when we hear ourselves for the first time as kids and they say, hey, let's record our voice, you sound more like kind of you're very tinny and sort of brittle, and it's this awful sound. Whereas to ourselves, we sound very rich and very loamy, and it's marvelous, marvelous, sound because we hear it through our bodies and stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm reticent to come up to a celebrity and go, "Hey, here's my version of you," because as good as it is, and maybe it's not so great, but if I get very close to the way they sound, that's not how they hear themselves. So it'll sound a little bit funny. It'll sound like I'm mocking them a little bit. Anyway, I'm just maybe too oversensitive. I mean, I've seen other impressionists, including Rich Little, do an impression of Jimmy Stewart to Jimmy Stewart, and he seems absolutely he's very pleased by it. I think that context is another factor. It's like, am I doing this for entertainment purposes, or are you just giving me a hard time?
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro. So his a person I definitely would not approach and say, hey, listen, this is I do your voice. I hope you don't mind. I mean, you can obviously you've got the final say, and it's under your control. But you know, he's someone I definitely would not do his impression. I pounced on Sam Elliott one time because I ran into Sam Elliott. Here, I'll get close to the mic. Be able to get down deep enough to sound a little bit like Sam. But I did my Sam Elliott impression because he surprised me. I turned a corner and there he was, and I went, "Oh, Sam Elliott, hey, I just did your voice for a blah blah blah." And he said he was very patient. He said, "Boy, you can really get down there, can't you?"
Well, you turned that into an awkward situation, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Hey, we have a string of Texans you can do, and Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. Well, now he's not an inimitable person. He's imitatable. I think we've all too. Because he's been unafraid. I think to take his time, and you don't see a lot of people that are so courageous about taking time to express something. I think we can all learn a lesson from Matthew McConaughey. Just relax, let it all roll out. Just
All
as
right, all
easy.
right, all right. Yeah.
Right, all right, all right. Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones, well, he's an actor I've admired for many years, and I've been doing a Tommy Lee Jones impression for quite a while. I flatter myself that I've done it since before he was quite as well known as he is now. And just because I always enjoyed his sort of, I guess you could call it a kind of a disinterested, unsympathetic delivery, unimpressed, certainly.
Yeah.
And to me, he always looks like in a movie, if you see him, it always looks like he's sort of uh, wishes he had some other line to say than the one he's got. He's just trying to get through it as quickly as possible.
Merlin Olsen.
Merlin Olsen. That's not one I have in my wheelhouse. I don't know. He's a football player, wasn't he?
That was no, the other guy. No, Merlin Olsen. Let me see. Well, Cars, Lightning McQueen.
Merlin Olsen.
Yeah, ka-chow.
You got me.
Ah,
You stumped me.
okay, we did it.
I thought Merlin Olsen
Game
was
over.
he yeah, damn or thanks for playing. Ah, that's great. Thank you for the humiliation.
Yeah,
All the way from Texas.
yeah.
Merlin Olsen, was he a sportscaster?
Merlin Olsen.
He had to be a
No,
football
no, no. He's
player.
an actor. You find him in a lot of rom-coms. Merlin Olsen.
I think you got that
Am I?
name
Am
wrong.
I? Did I get it right?
Merlin Olsen, I'm gonna look it up now. It's you
Uh,
I'm not letting you get away with this, Brian.
no, I'm not. I'm not going to get away with it. For some reason, you got me
Merlin
stumped
Olsen.
too.
Merlin Olsen, my
Merlin
eye.
Olsen. Uh, well, we'll move on to the next one. Rip
Yeah,
Torn.
yeah. Huh?
Rip Torn.
Rip Torn. Merlin Olsen, by the way, was a football defensive tackle
for the LA Rams.
and died in 2010. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's
And did he do voices?
who am I thinking of? He played Lightning McQueen in Disney, the Cars.
All right.
Disney's.
Well, mhm.
Uh,
Lightning
he's looking it up.
McQueen. Hold on. Fictional character voiced by, hang on. Come on now. Wait a minute.
Even Google stumped.
Wow.
Ah, jeez. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, Rip Torn.
Owen Wilson. You're talking about Owen
Owen
Wilson,
Wilson. Oh
not
God.
Merlin Olsen.
Oh
Oh, you
gosh. My
goodness
bad. My
gracious.
bad.
Owen Wilson. When you said Merlin Olsen, I'm like, wow, that is obscure. Oh, Owen Wilson. Yeah, yeah. Lightning McQueen. Sure. No, yeah. I think we both need to go back and pull out our DVDs, man. This is embarrassing.
It is. I'm sorry. That's brain flatulence there. Uh, okay, he wasn't a Texan, but he fought in the Alamo. John Wayne.
John Wayne, Marion Morrison, yeah. He was a guy when I was growing up that still had a lot of power at the box office. He lived not too far away from here, actually, up the road here a pace. I stumbled on a big old mansion down in the town next door, and when I Googled the hell out of that, I found that it was the original residence of the Duke. Of course, he's got the same first name as my mom, so I've got a real kinship there.
Wow.
His real name is Marion. You knew
Mrs.
that, of
C.
course. Marion
Wow.
Morrison and Marion
Absolutely
Ross.
love Mrs.
Never
C.
photographed together.
Yeah. Okay, so well, we'll pounce on more of your impressions at a later date. There's a lot of time to be able to listen to that, but let's talk about some of your acting roles.
Okay,
Okay, now
that's
I'm looking at this list here. Apollo 13.
yeah. Apollo
Yeah.
15. Speaking
And
of
and
Texas,
were you in mission control? What were you doing there?
I was the environmental and electrical systems engineer for the lunar excursion module.
Oh,
So I spent a month in a very, very amazing replica of the actual mission control. And we had some consultants who had been there, who had been young men at the time, and we could always ask them questions. I had a great experience working with Ron Howard, who was one of 5 films I've done with Ron, who I've known for, since I was a teenager. And that's one of those movies that if it's on, and I happen to be clicking around or scrolling around, I have to watch part of it because it's such a terrific film. It's an unusual film too, because if you think about it, it's not a documentary, but it's a true story. But there's no antagonist in it. There's no mad scientist or
yeah.
evil supervillain in it. There's just the physical universe and a bunch of people trying to get to a destination.
Yeah, I'm old
Despite
enough to remember that date actually, so
sure,
that was
yeah,
quite something.
yeah,
Now,
quite
that
something.
on the line, you were working for Ron Howard.
Mhm.
There's the Grinch. Now, were you a Who?
I was a Who. I mean, practically everybody in the movie's a Who except the Grinch, who's not a Who at all. So yes, I played Officer Houlihan, who was the cop, and I worked 4 months on that film with some amazing people, and I really enjoyed it. And being on that set was amazing. The makeup was amazing. The costumes were amazing. Every little prop, it was completely created, by these wonderful artists and production designers and makeup people and costumers. And
Hmm.
it was always something to look at. Film work can be very boring. It's usually a lot of waiting around. And this film was never boring because you could just walk around and talk to someone who looked like an art object, basically, and look at the buildings and talk to the stunt people. I met more circus people and stunt people and weird kind of niche entertainers. And I was there kind of because Ron knew I was an improviser and comedian, and we'd worked together before. So he had me on board because he just had a lot of creative people. And if you had an idea, you could come up to Ron and say, "Hey, you know, not for nothing, but here's a gag that we could do, and he would consider it. It was nice. We weren't on a very tight schedule. In fact, I think the movie, I think they shot about 2 movies worth of footage. A lot of extra scenes, a lot of extra parts that just weren't used. So for whatever reason, it was just open-ended and very elastic that way.
Uh, Ron and I have a kinship. We were both born about maybe 15 miles apart from each other on either side of the Red River. He's from Duncan, Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I knew his parents very well. Lovely,
Oh, okay.
lovely people. Yeah, Rance and Jean, they were just great people. Rance Howard was sounded like this. Rance was well, he was an actor too. Well, I mean, them both were. Both he and Jean met on a tour doing children's theater, and so that's why I think Ron and Clint turned out so great is because they grew up kind of to theater parents who were very down to earth, Oklahoma people, and just like they weren't full of themselves. They were just very humble and sensible and pragmatic.
Absolutely. Okay, and then you've been on TV shows like Friends, and
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I have.
What was that role?
What was the role? The
What was
role
the
was
role in Friends? Yeah.
yeah. Well, it was the one where it's called the one where Ross is fine. I don't know if you know that all the shows are called the one where, and that is always the first words of the name of the title of the episode. So this was where Chandler, the late great Chandler, was uh, looking to adopt a child, and so he and Monica go to visit my character and my character's wife and child to see because we've adopted a child, and to see how that plays out, what that's like for them. How did they like in adopting a child? What was it like? And in so doing, Chandler reveals to the child that he was adopted, uh, which he hadn't had the knowledge of that. So it was, you know, chaos and hilarity ensued. So it was a great experience working on Friends. I was in the very last season, one of the final shows. And at that point, the show was so comfortable at being, a hit. It'd been on for 10 years. Everybody was millionaires. They were very, very happy and comfortable to be there. And when you walk onto a set like that, it's almost like you're just sort of floating, like you're part of a soft assembly line. You're going to go from this scene right on through, and then you're going to go on with your life. It was just like being on a very delicious and comfortable Disney ride.
Wow.
Just comfort all the way, and it was over before I knew it. The week was done, and I was back on the streets.
Incredible, incredible. Well, you're available for a lot of things too. I was looking at your website. Folks, you need to check it out. It's at jimmeskimen.com. Meskimen,
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
jimmeskimen.com.
I do. If people like recordings, sometimes they like a birthday greeting from Sir Ian McKellen, for example, who says, "I cannot believe that you're 1 year older, but you're still quite a few decades younger than I." That kind of thing. I'll do messages for people, interviews like this, and I don't know, hit me up. Also, if your listeners or viewers are interested, I did a show, a live show, Jim Impressions, at the Gary Marshall Theater last year for the 50th anniversary of Happy Days. So I leaned into a lot of Happy Days material, stories about my mom, stories about the set, and music and songs and audience interaction. And that video, I will be happy to send a link, free link to anybody that would like to watch it. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. And just go to jimmeskimen.com and type in, please send me a link to your show in the contact form. You have to say please, but that's the only payment I require. No other payment. No salesman will visit your home. jimmeskimen.com. Please send me a link.
Because you are the real deal. Even even though You manufacture folks in voices, so
Yeah, yeah. No, yes.
oh yeah. So we're kind of running out of time, Jim. My gosh, when you're having fun, time flies, doesn't it? It
Let's
really
see.
does.
I should probably do a few more impressions for you, I
Would
suppose.
you please? I mean, give us about another minute.
About another minute.
Yeah, let's
Well,
do a lightning
this is
round. Let's see what
this is
happens.
this is Colin Firth. I don't know if you're familiar with Colin Firth. You probably don't go to as many romantic sort of Emily Dickinson sort of shows, but
So there's that, or Dr. Phil, and but Robin is of course the big favorite. Oh, everybody loves Robin Williams, and I've been doing the Blue Genie for quite a while for Disney, and it's always nice to kind of sort of evoke that sort of feeling of wonder, of amazement, of excitement, and a little bit of mischief, maybe more than a little. And let's see, who else? What else can I do for you?
a lot of people do Donald Trump because that's really kind of the realm. I think mine is pretty fantastic, but then I suppose everybody is. Joe Biden, well, our hearts go out to Joe Biden because I can't remember why, but anyway, it's fine. It doesn't matter. And
Well, Ronald Reagan.
well, Ronald Reagan. A lot of people looking back at Ronald Reagan, just to see what was that all about. He, of course, had a great sense of humor and a great delivery of a joke, which a lot of our presidents today seem unable to muster. But he told a story about how he and Nancy went to a steakhouse one time, and the waiter said to Nancy, "What'll you have?" And she said, well, I'll have the usual. I'll have a nice filet mignon. And he said, very good, ma'am. And for the vegetable? And she said, well, he'll have what I'm having. I always like that joke.
And with that, we'll just nail it. Jim, I appreciate it. Today is a special day for you to pop in and brighten our days here in Texas. We're kind of having a bit of a hard time right now, but you really are
Yes,
brightening up
my
our
all
day.
of our thoughts are with you. What part of Texas? That was Central
That's
Texas?
Central Texas. That's in the Hill Country,
Hill
in
country,
San
like,
Antonio, Austin to San
oh
Angelo
my,
area down
oh
there.
my
So,
God.
and
Wow.
our hearts are the same for you and the fires that you've had in California. So,
Yeah, yeah.
we're looking out for each other.
Well,
But definitely appreciate you, and it's been an honor for you to drop in and
it has been an honor for me.
be a
Thank you.
guest
And
and say
please,
hi.
yeah, look for Landman season two. I don't know when that's going to launch, but
Mhm.
probably in September, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Great
that the
story.
thing that
Taylor
blows me away
Sheridan.
about that is that you play a heavy role.
Do I?
Yeah, it's kind of well, it's not funny.
Well, no, it's not. It's a dramatic role, and I've
Yeah,
done quite a
dramatic.
few dramas. It's yeah, I'm a dramatist for hire, but I like comedy as well. I like to make people laugh.
Jim Meskimen.com. And of course, follow him on all social platforms, I take it.
Yeah, at Jim Pressions. That's kind of my
Impressionist.
handle. Jim Pressions. You can look me up there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. Have a great day.
Thanks, Brian.